We have the flex lines, they look okay. We have the mechanical S rubber on heel for anti-abrasion. We have rubber everywhere where it needs. And then foam for bouncy cushion feeling. Texture adds visually for the soft perceived softness. So this looks like the Chanel bag, right? Which are you can feel the. It's a nice way to also to narrate visually what is really like squishy and really padded. So we have the rubber outsole. So how is what do you think this EVA, is it injected or is it compression molding?
Injected.
Why?
Because of the puffiness.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look very detailed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And also you see this pop out, which is really goes up and then down again. This is a very extreme undercut. And also this height is already says that it is not compression molding. Why? Because compression molding cannot, like the injection, inflate, like get this air so evenly like the injection. So it creates a lot of different hardness areas when it is so high. Somewhere it is harder, somewhere it is softer. The density changes from one side to the other. So what happens? You cannot pair them. They have a very high margin of error. So it gives a lot of defects. So when we have something so big and bouncy, just don't even think about it. It's going to be injection molding, okay? Or what we can do, we can have two parts, maybe like it is cut in the middle. We have a sole that it is made in two parts. Maybe you even have the holes because the one on the top and the one on the bottom, has the holes, but you would have a split line and it's going to be laminated by glue. So it is not going to be one whole product. You don't have money, you don't want to open an injection molding, then you should make a design that is split into two so that you can have, it's like having two soles that you just glue them together.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I'm just curious, would you ever use a split injection EVA midsole with a compression molded? Are there cases where you would use those together? Like
together?
Yeah. Would you ever create a midsole with an injected EVA
No.
and a compression molded? No.
I don't think so. You don't need that.
Okay.
It's because injection molding, no, I'm just thinking something extreme. Why would I need that? Why? And I'm thinking maybe you need a part of the sole. It's a very big sole, very bouncy sole, but you need a part of it which is really well defined. So you need the compression molding. But I have never seen actually something that you would open both molds for just one sole, where you can go and do double color injection in the, like Hoka 1 makes it a lot. They have the 2 color injections. I don't think you would need that. And then here again, we have something really huge, and then we have the spraying, we have the painting, and this is of course injected EVA. So pattern design in shank area can help avoid torsion, but we are not an actual anti-torsion section. I would say no. It's also because on a sole like this, whatever anti-torsion you make, it's not gonna even arrive to the foot. You are so detached from the ground. So when they ask me about the Maximalist shoes like these, I am not very, very pro this, a lot of cushioning and being so detached from the ground. I think I would hurt myself if I wear these, I would spread my ankle or whatever because you are so detached, and I don't think that it would make any anti-torsion. No. In a rubber appears slightly emerging to midsole to avoid delamination. Actually, yes.
Well, one question about the picture that we were looking at, because some of the details in the sidewall look quite thin, like sharp, So my question would, let's say that because of the reef or whatever, you need to use IM EVA. But what if I want to add detail, the really sharp details on the sidewall design? How would you achieve that?
Yeah, what you can do is, depending on the design, Diego, you can maybe have it lasered. I know that you can have lasering on rubber. On EVA, I'm not very sure, but I think you can. Maybe like an added layer of design. You can ask, some added layer of design. But it can go, as you can see here. But you say sharp details, but they are very long and like very oval stuff.
Mm.
So it's okay,
Oh yeah.
if you go really like little stuff, like the textures that you would see in the compression molding, the little lines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He made big ovals. What I do is, when I have a PU or an injection molding like this, I put an arrow and say, make it as sharp as possible. Like you should really bust their balls, because otherwise they will always stay in the safety area. So you say, I really need it. What can we do? How can we do it? Just tell me the limit. So what I do is just go as extreme as you can, without, of course, creating bubbles and all that stuff in the mold. But that's what I usually do. Go
Yeah.
as much as undercut possible. If I'm doing a compression molded sole and I want the undercut, I want it. So I say, like, go as much as, where can we go? This is, if it's not enough, then most probably I will split it into two, make another part which goes really down, really undercut, and it's going to be laminated. So I may change my design. So it depends, if the brand doesn't want to open an injection molding, then I will tell them, where we can also change the density. We can do it a little bit more squishy, so it makes a little bit of cushioning, and we can have it as another EVA part, or I can make it in PU foam. And then from there, on the back of the heel, I can create my super undercut, because it's not an undercut anymore. There are two slices, like laminated together. So that's why it's a little bit tricky, sole design. I have to decide if I want that aesthetic, if it's really important. And if I don't have that budget, how can I compensate? So it's kind of engineering thinking also.
Let's say that I want to have the squishiness and the bouncing of the IMEVA,
Mm-hmm.
but I really want sharp details. Could it be any opportunity to make some kind of outside layer, only compress molded or with TPU or something, just because of the aesthetics?
Yeah, if it is very high and very undercut, I have to go injection molding. There is nothing to do. Yeah, as I said, you can create a design which is split into two parts, like a toast, so that I have the top part and the bottom part that I have to laminate. But maybe between them, I can make something nice, just to, like maybe a ABS part, which is not TPU, is not so expensive, but some plastic. If you have something in your mind, if that's the focus point of your project, you start from there. I want a very detailed and a high and undercut sole, but I don't need it to be a whole thing. I can also maybe do a nice splitting, not very complex, because the two parts, then uniting them will be a problem. So, they should be easy to, that's also another thing, because EVA has some error margins, because they give air inside and it gets swollen. So what is important is to understand if these parts, they will, like match perfectly, which is not very easy. So, you have to make check plan. Okay, this is important. I want to have this. How can I solve it? Yeah. Maybe you can make a TPU shell and then put inside the PU foam. That
Okay.
could be it's not going to look like EVA. But what I would do, as a sole designer, I should understand what is the most important thing in my project. Is it the look? Is it this? Is it that? What is the challenge and how can I solve it? What can I compromise? What can I sacrifice and what I cannot? So it's not always about money. It's also about what you want to. And then we have an easy sole, but we have some we have some holes here, right? Like a carbon plate underneath. Sometimes they do the carbon plate for running. I see these little triangles. I think it's a carbon plate. I
Yeah.
can see the thread here. So it's carbon plate is something that we have in the materials lesson. It is very, very thin, and it is very flexible, and it doesn't break. So it gives you kind of a bounce effect while you are running. It's giving you more energy. It's just pushing you forward. So what they do is, again, like you have all rubber, and this is a trail running. You can recognize from the monologue, and it is very, very well distributed. It's written here, trail, anyway. So it's very spiky and high here. You can see that they are like at least 5-6 mm. So there are lugs on the shank area, and there is more curve. This makes this style not as good for braking. Yes, the trail running soles, they don't follow the brake rules always. I try to always, when I design, try to put something also here. You never know, you go downhill, it's gonna help you to brake a little bit safer. I would make these ones really larger, be or in the heel area. This is what I would do. Whatever you see on the market, because it's Saucony or because it's ASICS, it doesn't have to be the ideal, the best one. So this is a good example of trail running, but I see it a little bit weak on the backside. You really don't have enough rubber. I think this is really very, very empty, but it's okay anyway. It's gonna wear off a lot. But what the important thing is, we have the technology. The carbon plate is really expensive, and what we do is we go and show it. Here again, we have another trail running sole. Ask me, I remember about the inclinations of the trekking lugs. You remember?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, this is contrary, and I don't know why they did it in the contrary, because they are more like braking on the forefoot area. You have 90 degrees wall here, and then you have the inclination here. And when I see these things, I say maybe they're experimenting something. Maybe this is really for downhill running. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But these are just the contrary. You would do them on the contrary normally. So that's what I want to know, make you understand that sometimes you will see upside down things in the market because they want to try, they want to see how this is going. Maybe someone is a downhill runner, right? So they go there, they say, okay, let's go up to the mountain and just make a run downhill. We will not go back, okay? So I think this would be a very good shoe for that. We have the Merrell. You cannot know the midsole density here. Not sure what the midsole density is. You just squish it. If it is very soft, it's a low density, but that is something also we explore with the factory. And what I've never given any numbers because I cannot keep the numbers in my mind, but slowly you start to learn also about the density. It's called Shore, the unit. But in these ones, the trekking ones, they are not very soft because they need to be really like stable, and they should not squish by time. They should not deform, because trekking shoes, we usually keep them for years. They are not sneakers that you change with your jeans. So again, here, this doesn't look like EVA to me, but maybe it is painted. I'm not sure. We have a very classical trekking sole, which something very similar to what we see in our lesson, right? These are a little bit cluttered. They are very, very close, but I think they have enough. Here, maybe in this area, I would have opened them a little bit more, right? Because they are really on one over each other. Here you will have a lot of mud going in. So for the rest, I think it is quite respecting all the rules. It's just these, lugs are a little bit too close to each other. That's the only thing. Okay, this one is basketball. So here we see the carbon. Again, this is the pivot area. So this is where you start to turn, not this one. Okay. The thread is not multidirectional. It's better to have it for flexible grip. Yeah, I think at least around this area, it would be nicer to have something rounded. Yeah, we don't really have flex lines in this because in basketball, we don't need a lot of flex lines. We need very much of stability and then the possibility to turn. We have all this TPU going on here, and then we have the rubber. We must have the rubber because we cannot have TPU as touching the ground when we play basketball. But this is very, very rocky. Okay, so I believe that this is a basketball inspired lifestyle sneaker because also the upper is not for playing basketball, and also it is very rocker bottom, so you can see a lot of toe spring and a lot of heel spring, so it's not really basketball, but it is inspired. Again, they have put this pivot area here. I would put it, like the correct part is this one, but again, this is not a basketball shoe. It's a fashion shoe. And here you can see this effect. We are having this in our lesson 6, where we have the camouflage effect, where they have put some colors inside the mold so that it becomes multicolored, like camouflage effect. It's really nice. This is a little bit long because you have analyzed a lot of shoes. I'm really grateful for that. So 10 millimeter heel to toe drop, if I'm not wrong. Segmented rubber outsole to reduce weight of the shoe. These lugs are not, I think, to reduce the weight. We don't have all this sophisticated, like thinking all the time, because we want to do something a little bit luggy. So this is what it is, it's not always for weight reduction. And we also see some midsole material. We see the S, and then we have some transparency here where we make a hole in the EVA and rubber so that we can see seeing the technology, because we have the airbag here. The airbags are made in TPU, just to remind you. We have the S everywhere. That was also Diego's question. Do we have to have it? Is it important? We would say in Italian, ni, it means something between si and no. Which means that if it is a performance sole, if it is something that we want to communicate that we are following the foot anatomy, if that is also a part of the project that which you think it is important, then you can. But if I am doing something for, I don't know, a very classical brand, and I'm designing a man's sneaker sole, but it is really like Lacoste or Le Coq Sportif, something really like very casual, I don't need to do this all the time. But you can absorb it in many soles. So this is a trail running, but it is quite low lugs. It's not very spiky. And again, here we have a lot of observations. Yeah, this is another Vibram sole. With the S, you always see this, the anatomical shape all the time. I think this is really nice. And you may ask me, why do we have this area which is all empty? I will explain you. This is a sport called approach, which I am not treating in the lesson because it's very special, and it is not a sport that everybody does. It's kind of a half climbing. You go and approach the mountain. So this part is necessary for climbing the rocks. So that's also something between trekking and approach, something hybrid. Cutouts on the rubber to decrease weight and expose PU rock plate. No, I think this is a second color rubber. I don't think so. So there can be some mistakes. It's normal. We have the EVA midsole. This is considered an undercut break. No, because it goes 90, I think. And line cuts, Vibram outsole, lugs have sharp edges for traction, lugs have distant space for self-cleaning. Yes, this sole is very self-cleaning, and the lugs are quite good for traction. So it's a good example. So this is Diego's mission. Lightweight maximalist design, injection midsole, because we have the holes, and you can see also on the surface a little bit shiny. We have a heel stabilizer actually is not done by another material, but just by design, which wraps over so that it's gonna stay there. You know, it really keeps the foot a little bit more stable. Okay, so we have the flex screws replacements. I don't think these are.
Try to. I think that they tried to do some kind of flex screws, or I'm not sure. That's why I place it in red.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's part of the design. It's gonna give some flexibility, but they are not the biomechanical flexibility. So that's why I'm saying we don't have to do that all the time. Like if you have a sole so big like that, even if you do some flex lines, you know, you have to do them really deep, because otherwise, you know, it's gonna be really minimum. So there is a ratio between the height and the flex that you have. And if you can imagine, you know, like a sole that is so cut so deep with such a high profile, it's not going to be very stable. So maybe you can do something like a hot knife. I don't know if you have already watched that part where Nike Free is doing, but these very tall, very bulky soles, they usually, whatever you do, it does not really reach the foot. It's really far. You cannot really perceive what's going on under your foot.
Okay.
So missing anti-torsion shank. Yes, but we don't really need it. I don't know how, maybe inside the shoe there is something kind of a plate so that this doesn't collapse, because it's just on the shank area, having so big holes that goes through the sole. You can imagine after a while it's going to collapse, right? So maybe they have put something inside. I'm not sure. So here also anti-torsion, it is so big, it's not going to even work. So,
or maybe a dual density. Do you think?
Yeah, you can do something, but it's so high, you know, Diego. It's so high.
Yeah.
You feel these things, the anti-torsions, the different densities, when it is like half of this sole. You start to perceive it. So the people who are doing really pro sports, they usually don't have these maximalist soles. Yes, there are people who are doing marathons with the maximalist soles, but they are marathons, you know, like they are long and, you know, you can try to do with the maximalist soles. But when you go and you need speed and you need perception, you know, you need to feel the ground and feel really what the sole is giving you as performance. It should be much lower. It should be more close to your foot so that you can really benefit from the material and from the design that is made. This is, again, a big sole. Inclinations to push are there. Inclinations to break are there. We have a lot of cuts, so it's okay. I mean, we have EVA showing on the bottom, so it's not for a very hardcore hiking. It is more something in between. So it's going to be much lighter than a hiking shoe, but with a very big sole. So this is the important thing. Big stabilizing lugs inspired in mountaineering soles, yes, and we have them where we need it. But then, of course, here in the middle, after some time, if you're on the rocks, if you're on a hard terrain, these are going to break a little bit. It's going to not last forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is also interesting. Lugs with both forward and backward inclination. Yes, they are symmetrical. This is also used a lot in trekking. It's not always, you know, like pushing the front and breaking the back. I mean, on the back, it's better to have the break all the time. I think it's important, but we can also make them like conic, symmetrical conic. It's okay. It works anyway. So there's no problem. Yeah, stability perimeter, like it's a very classical, you know, like a trekking pattern, which is fine because we have, you know, like a vintage boot. It's not pretending to be something super modern. You know, this part, I'm not sure if it is rubber or it is polyurethane. Maybe it's PU, right? I'm not sure.
It felt like rubber, to be honest. It was really sticky. So.
But to be full rubber, should be very heavy though. Maybe it's a polyurethane. It might be a polyurethane because we have this color also here. You have the welding here, which is like most probably a TPU plasticky or a rubber welding that is stitched really. So it is giving what the project is asking, which is a classical trekking look. And then here we have a basketball. This is more, I think, to play basketball, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's closer. But
Yes.
but what was interesting for me is that we are still missing the flex groups.
I mean, yeah, some of them have, some of them do not, but usually, yes, we do have slight little bit of two at least, because otherwise it's really stiff. But the other parts, I think they're okay. They're really basketball. I think the design also here is coming out a little bit more. The gauge is a little bit asymmetrical. It's a little bit weird, but it's done on purpose. You can see that this is popping out. So it's okay. Yeah. We have everything there. You know, we don't have the flex lines, but they want to have the aesthetics of these lines, so they've just put it there. Is this all EVA?
I
Really?
think so. Yeah, I found that really strange because I remember from the lesson that it should be all rubber. Like, hey, why? Why did they add this?
Yeah, no, then that's not really for playing basketball, but you can, like you can. I mean, in this era, everything is possible. Also, if you look at the upper, it doesn't have the ankle support. It's not professional, let's say, but you have everything here. And then we have the Hoka. Here she said, midsole is compressed EVA. This is wrong because you can see that it's huge and then has this big undercut because Hoka always does injection molding. And then we have the rubbers which are set inside the cavities on the EVA so that it doesn't delaminate. We have some walls around it that keeps it together. And then this is a bit tricky because I believe this is not an injected EVA, but it might even be a polyurethane because of the shininess. I'm not very sure. We should go to the site and check it. Or it might be, injected EVA, but for sure not compression molding because it's really shiny. It has this slight membrane all over it, and then we have a double color outsole. Here we have again midsole with a TPU insert, and then this in the middle cannot be real carbon, but it is serigraphy usually. And then we have some EVA that is exposed on the bottom, and this is a very classical trail running sole, and Salomon does the best, I think, trail running shoes. Also as the height, you see, I think this is like the maximum. I wouldn't go higher like Hoka because when you're running in the mountains, you need to feel the terrain. You need to feel that you're on a rock and the rock is high, because if you have such a high sole, you will not even perceive where you're putting your foot, right? So that's the problem of maximalism. Here again, it's a complex sole. It has this TPU which is going down under because it wants to be very, very stable. And then we have this one. It is obviously TPU because it is transparent. And then she was asking if this was rubber, if this was the EVA that is coming out. I cannot tell from the photo. I'm not sure. But most probably it is rubber. This one looks more like rubber. This one looks more like TPU. So again, this is lifestyle. I don't think it's to play really basketball.